Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to GamerTube, and welcome back to our Poppy Playtime character concept series. So in today's video, the character we're looking into is Kick Me Paul. So we're going to this character's location, gameplay mechanics, backstory, and all that good stuff as well. As always, I will just state that this isn't definitive of what's going to actually happen in Chapter 3. We don't know what's going to happen in Chapter 3, nor does anyone. This is just a fun, cool, creepy story we get to tell, and we hope you enjoy. As always, do be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. Alrighty, well, let's get into the character concept of Kick Me Paul. So in our previous videos, we've explored some of the strange toy characters from Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. Some of these characters have reappeared in our Chapter 3 concept series. And we've also delved into some of the rejected toys as well. And the next rejected toy we're going to be looking at is Kick Me Paul. Paul is a relatively simple looking toy. They seem to be a ball-shaped character with 2 arms, legs, and a propeller cap. They appear to be made of a tough and durable kickball material. Hence the name, Kick Me Paul was designed to be kicked around and nearly impossible to break due to its durable material. But the Kick Me Paul toy unfortunately never made it to full production. When reading the rejected toy letter, it states that no one liked Kick Me Paul. And they were also laughed out of their presentation. There is also a resubmit letter that the player can read. It has notes about changing Paul's name, or maybe including a Y. So the new version could have been Kick Me Paulie. But regardless, this poor little kickball toy never made it to the store shelves. Ever since their embarrassing presentation where they were laughed out of the room, the Kick Me Paul prototype has felt useless and unwanted ever since. But maybe this round looking ball could prove to be much more useful than they think. So now we return to our main protagonist. They've been roaming around the Playtime Co factory for quite a while now. After roaming through a number of corridors, they come across a new area. And this new area is the security facility of the factory. This was a tightly secured area with a number of locked doorways to pass through. It seems that the majority of these doors needed 2 security personnel to activate them. By the door were 2 pressure plates. 2 workers would need to stand on either pressure plate to unlock the door. But unfortunately for our protagonist, they were only 1 person. If they were going to make it through this area and hopefully find the exit, they would need to find some help. The player searched throughout the area to find anything that could weigh down the other pressure plate. But they couldn't find anything that would do the job. Eventually they would find themselves in a strange looking room. It's filled with those weird yellow toys they saw back in the rejection room. There was a bunch of them all over the floor, and a slightly larger one on the table. Their name was Kick Me something. The player couldn't really remember, but it eventually came to them. These were the Kick Me Paul toys. They remembered reading about them in the notes. The more they looked at them, the more they realised what a lame toy they actually were. They were pretty much just a ball with a face. As they walk towards them, the toy on the table blinks. To the player's surprise, this Kick Me Paul is actually sentient. Maybe this was the toy that was presented all those years ago. The player picks up the strange round ball, and to their surprise, Paul was quite heavy. Maybe this boring old toy might be useful after all. Player walks down to the security door and drops Paul on the pressure pad. Then they stand on the other side, and just like that, the door opens up. They now enter another room with another security door. But this time the pressure plates were a little different. It became clear to the player that they were going to have to solve a number of puzzles to progress through this area. This time the pressure plates were spaced far apart. The player needs to place Paul down on one of the pressure pads and then quickly run over to the other side before the timer was up. They make it just in time and the second door opens. Now this room's puzzle would have the player need to throw Paul up on a higher ledge. But Kick Me Paul was far too heavy to throw that high. The player needs to find a way they can launch Paul up to that ledge. After searching around, they come across a hydraulic loader. If they press the button on and off quick enough, it would launch Paul up to the ledge. After a couple of tries, they finally got them up there. The player then steps on the other plate and the third door opens up. After grabbing Paul again, they enter into the next room. This is where things get a little dangerous. All around the room are deadly lasers pointed in multiple directions. If either Paul or the player were to touch them, it would slice right through them. In the fourth puzzle segment, the player needs to carefully make their way through the room. On the floor are a number of pressure pads. Some would glow red, and the others would glow blue. The player needs to memorize which ones are which and act accordingly. Red panels would be where they place Paul, and blue is where they would stand. They need to move forward as they deactivate the lasers. But if they get the sequence wrong, then all the lasers would reactivate. After making their way through this tense memory puzzle, they finally unlock the fourth door. Now both Paul and the player enter the fifth and final room. The fifth and final security clearance room would prove to be the most challenging of all. In this puzzle segment, the player would need to stand on one of the plates and place Paul on another. When both were in position, a number of GrabPack switches would appear in front of them. The player would need to use their GrabPack to hit them as quickly as they can. The only problem was, Paul didn't have a GrabPack. So not only did the player have to worry about their switches, but they also had to activate Paul's as well. If the player can't keep up with the quick rhythm, then that would trigger the multiple incinerators that were located around the room. If they missed one of the switches, then the whole room would be filled with fire. As they frantically hit the switches and keep up with the pace, the exit door finally opens. As they approach the door, a large wall of flame appears. They place Paul back down on the pressure pad and the flame disappears. It becomes clear that the player needs to leave Paul behind if they want to exit this area. But Paul doesn't seem to mind at all. He was happy to finally be of some use and have a purpose. With their happy smile, they watched as the player moved on and they both said goodbye. Finally, this strange yellow ball that nobody liked now had at least one fan. That was more than enough for poor old Paul. As the player moves on, they get ready for the next area that they will encounter. They think back on all the kind toys that have helped them along this far. And now they could add that funny yellow ball to the list of those helpful toys. So I think Kick Me Paul would be a good addition to Chapter 3. I think their backstory of once being considered a useless toy, but then in the end proving that to be incorrect, would be quite interesting to see. Also, this character being just a yellow ball that blinks and also being used as a puzzle element that you throw around would be quite humorous. But as to if they add this character in Chapter 3, we'll just have to wait and see. Regardless, I think it would be a fun character to play with, even if it is only for a small gameplay segment. Alrighty everyone, well that's all we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing, as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. As always, leave a comment down below what you thought of Kick Me Paul and what you'd like to see going forward. Alrighty everyone, well until the next video, I'll catch you later, bye.